He's the god of gamblers, undefeated, untouchable, and protected by a skill so sharp he can predict dice rolls by sound alone. But when a trap meant for someone else sends him tumbling headfirst into amnesia, the world's greatest gambler wakes up with the mind of a child, no memory of his name. A broke, desperate, small-time gambler saves him and discovers this stranger can win at cards. What starts as exploitation becomes loyalty. What begins as a con becomes family. But when the god of gamblers' treacherous cousin and a vengeful mob close in, this unlikely duo must survive assassins, loaded decks, and a high-stakes revenge plot on a luxury cruise ship. When he finally remembers who he is, everyone who betrayed him paid the price. If you love high-stakes gambling, brutal betrayals, and genius revenge plans, you're in the right place. Watch till the end, because this story isn't about luck. It's about patience, deception, and payback. Like, subscribe, and let's break down one of the most iconic gambling legends ever put on screen. The story revolves around Chow, a world-renowned gambler, famous for his undefeated streak in various games of chance. His skill is unparalleled, earning him the title God of Gamblers. He guards his identity fiercely. No photographs, no public appearances, so casinos still open their doors to him. Despite his low profile, he's recognized for three distinct features: his slicked-back hairstyle, an obsession with one specific brand of chocolate, and his signature green jade pinky ring. Chow arrives in Tokyo with his girlfriend Janet and his cousin and assistant, Ko-yi, ready to face Ueyama Koji, Japan's top-ranked gambler, who seeks to challenge Chow and experience his skills firsthand. The first game is Mahjong, which Chow wins with ease, though the margin is narrow. For the next game, Dice, Koji opts to have his subordinate, a professional dice player, compete in his place. The woman, marked by tattoos and swift hand movements, exudes confidence and skill, proving herself a formidable opponent. But Chow, with his sharp instincts, can already sense her moves. His nickname, God of Gamblers, isn't just for show. With ears more sensitive than a normal person's, he listens carefully and predicts the outcome of her dice roll before it's even revealed. When it's his turn, Chow demands that the dice shaker be replaced with a heavier one. With a firm shake, he throws the dice so forcefully that one breaks, yet he still wins the round. The challenge proves to be more than just a game. Koji, fully aware that he can't defeat Chow, has a hidden agenda for inviting him. His true purpose isn't victory, but to get close to Chow and seek his help. Koji admits he was never going to win, and, accepting defeat with grace, asks Chow to help him take revenge on Chan Kam Singh, known as the Demon of Gamblers. This notorious Singaporean gambler had cheated Koji's father, driving him to bankruptcy and ultimately suicide. Chow agrees. In gratitude, Koji introduces his best bodyguard, Dragon, an ex-Vietnamese Special Forces operative, and arranges for him to protect Chow until the time of the match. Dragon gives Chow his contact number, promising to be available whenever needed. Elsewhere, in a small-town casino, Michael Chan, an overzealous yet inexperienced gambler, loses again, frustration boiling over as he vents his anger on his best friend. Michael, a perennial loser at the tables, refuses to give up on his dream of hitting it big. His girlfriend, Jane, tired of his gambling addiction, urges him to get a real job so they can marry and build a future. But Michael, lost in his daydreams, insists that one day he'll make it big and they'll be rich together. On their way home, they encounter an Indian neighbor with two fierce dogs, who warns them to stay away from the area as it's private property. Rather than apologizing, they choose instead to banter with the man. To get back at the man, Michael and his friend set a trap for the Indian man, digging a hole in his path, camouflaging it to make him fall. They place cans on the fence to know when he'll fall, eagerly anticipating the moment so they can mock him. Meanwhile, Chow watches his subordinate at a casino, surrounded by a group of professional gamblers. One of them, a rich and notorious man named Nam, is enjoying the game as he's winning. When Chow subordinate keeps losing, Chow steps in, suggesting they call it a night. Nam, displeased with the interruption, is triggered. Chow, sensing Nam's arrogance, decides to challenge him, raising the stakes. While the others back out, Nam, driven by ego and unwilling to admit defeat, recklessly increases the bet, surpassing the table's limit. Chow wins, forcing Nam to sign a check for the amount. Regret and anger fill Nam, and unwilling to part with such a large sum, he sends his thugs after Chow to retrieve the check. Chow, anticipating Nam's next move, is already one step ahead. He hands the check to his subordinate, instructing him to take another route, while Yi takes a different path. Ko-jun enters his car, but deliberately drops on the way, allowing his driver to continue alone. Meanwhile, Ko-jun boards a train to the other side of town. When Nam's thugs intercept the car, they find only the driver, who reluctantly reveals that Ko-jun has taken the train. Some of the thugs board the train, but they are quickly dealt with by Dragon, who neutralizes them with ease and precision. Ko-jun, relaxed and unconcerned, enjoys the show, pretending as if it has nothing to do with him. Suspecting that more of Nam's thugs might show up, Ko-jun tells Dragon to handle the rest while he exits at a remote location on the outskirts of the city, coincidentally, Michael's neighborhood. As he continues on his way, he runs into the Indian man. After a brief altercation, Ko-jun scares off his two fierce dogs. Continuing his journey, he accidentally steps into Michael's trap, tripping and rolling over, hitting his head on a stone. Hearing the sound of the containers jingling, Michael and his friends rush outside, expecting to see the Indian man, but instead, they find a bleeding stranger. They decide to bring Ko-jun back to Michael's house, where his grandmother tends to him. Upon checking his wallet, they find no ID or contact information. Unfortunately, Ko-jun suffers memory loss and regresses into a childlike state. Somehow, he remembers his favorite brand of chocolate. With no name to go by, Michael and his friends decide to call him Chocolate. Michael, taking advantage of Ko-jun's condition, bullies him, believing he's faking. Jane, however, steps in to stop him. Michael also tries to take the cash found in Ko-jun's suit pocket, but Jane collects it back, keeping it safe for Chocolate. Despite this, Michael and his friend continue to clamor for the money, but even in his childlike state, Ko-jun outsmarts them. As time passes, Michael grows increasingly impatient with Chocolate's childish behavior and often yells at him. But when he realizes that Ko-jun still possesses his innate gambling talent, he decides to exploit his abilities. Surprisingly, despite his memory loss, Ko-jun's remarkable skill and sensitivity as a gambler remain intact. Jane, initially against using his abilities and money for gambling, becomes excited when Ko-jun wins his first game. From that moment on, they start visiting various local gambling dens, winning large sums of money. They begin indulging in material things, buying clothes, jewelry, and eventually a car. However, as time goes on, Ko-jun starts losing as though his condition is deteriorating. It seems like he's relapsing, and his once sharp senses begin to fade, leaving Michael frustrated and bankrupt, but still hopeful that Ko-jun will win again. In desperation, Michael decides to borrow money from a loan shark named Xing. Xing initially refuses to lend him any more money after the previous one took too long to repay. However, seeing the potential in Ko-jun's winnings, he agrees to lend Michael the money. Michael heads to a gambling den with Ko-jun. However, Ko-jun, unable to get his favorite chocolate, hesitates to play. Michael attempts to calm him down, but his efforts fail. In a moment of frustration, he hits Ko-jun. Regretful, Michael quickly apologizes and assures Ko-jun he'll get his chocolate. He leaves, telling Ko-jun not to play until he returns. When Michael returns, he is furious to find that Ko-jun has already spent all the money and is fooling around. Michael angrily drags Ko-jun out of the casino, his frustration boiling over. Once outside, he tells Ko-jun to wait for him at a spot till he returns. Michael boards a bus, planning to leave him behind. As the bus moves, guilt creeps in, and he can't shake the thought of abandoning Ko-jun. He gets off the bus and returns to the spot where he left him, only to find Ko-jun has disappeared. Panic sets in, and he frantically searches for him, calling out his name. Relief washes over him when he finally finds Ko-jun. He apologizes, vowing never to leave him again. Together, they head home. As time passes, Michael grows deeply fond of Ko-jun and becomes determined to help him regain his memory. He visits a doctor who suggests a surgery could help. To raise the money for the procedure, Michael sells off a few things, including a piece of land. However, his troubles aren't over. Xing will soon start demanding repayment for the money Michael owes. To avoid Xing, Michael moves into a room at a brothel owned by a friend. But his attempt to hide fails when he runs into Xing in the brothel and is captured. Desperate, Jane contacts Xing, pleading for Michael's release, offering part of the money while asking for more time to gather the rest. Xing refuses, unmoved by her request. Meanwhile, back in the room, Ko-jun experiences a brief flash of recognition when he finds his suit and Dragon's business card. Confused, He dials the number, but when Dragon picks it up, Kojun remains silent, unsure of what to say. The next day, Jane, along with Kojun and Michael, confronts Xing at his place, begging for Michael's release. Xing remains adamant, demanding the full amount. In a moment of clarity, Kojun, regaining his confidence, declares that he is the god of gamblers and will win the money needed to pay off Michael's debt. Xing laughs, mocking him, and challenges Kojun to prove his skills. Initially, Kojun struggles, but soon he begins to skillfully shuffle the cards, shocking everyone in the room. Jane and Kojun, now in control, pressure Xing into releasing Michael, and they escape together. Back at Kojun's house, Janet, who has been desperately searching for him for days, is met with more trouble. She's been facing harassment from Kojun's cousin and assistant, Yi, who has been persistently pursuing her. Yi, intent on possessing both Janet and Kojun's wealth, tries to force himself on her. When she fights back, he shoves her, sending her crashing through the window to her death. Yi discovers that Janet had been recording everything on her voice recorder. He destroys the magnetic tape and burns it to cover his crime. Having learned that Kojun is still alive, Yi decides to join forces with Nam, the very man Kojun was running from that led to his present predicament. Yi convinces Nam to send his men to track down and eliminate Kojun, ensuring that his wealth will be split between Nam and himself. Yi then sets off in search of Kojun. Back at the motel, Dragon suddenly appears just as Nam's thugs arrive. He's confused when Kojun doesn't recognize him but proceeds to do his job anyway. Dragon protects Kojun and his friends, firing at Nam's men to hold them off. Meanwhile, Kojun, terrified by the gunshots, screams and tries to flee the chaos. He runs into Yi, who realizes Kojun has lost his memory. Yi decides to kill Kojun, but just as he's about to shoot him, Michael appears and knocks Yi unconscious. Kojun continues to flee and finds Dragon, who's trapped in the grip of a huge attacker. Despite the struggle, Dragon manages to shoot the attacker and other oncoming assailants, though he takes a bullet in the process. As more attackers close in, Dragon shouts at Kojun to pick up a gun and defend him. After a brief hesitation, Kojun snaps out of his childlike state, switching to full combat mode. He grabs the guns and shoots at the attackers mercilessly, but is struck by a bullet to the shoulder. Once the attackers are defeated, Kojun goes back into panic mode, running outside in a daze. He trips on the stairs, hitting his head, causing it to bleed. When bystanders rush to help, he recoils and is accidentally hit by a car. His head slams against the vehicle and the tarred road, knocking him unconscious. Kojun is rushed to the hospital. The blow to his head seems to restore his memory, and when he wakes up, he remembers who he truly is. Yi is by his side, feigning loyalty. When Kojun asks about Janet, Yi lies, claiming that she took her own life. Meanwhile, Michael sneaks into the hospital and attacks Yi, warning Kojun that Yi wants to kill him. However, Kojun doesn't recognize Michael and is confused. Security quickly escorts Michael away, and heartbroken he cries, unable to accept that Kojun no longer remembers him. After his recovery, Kojun returns home, his heart heavy with sadness. Janet, who had always been there to keep him company, is now gone. For the first time, Kojun feels the cold emptiness of being alone without her warmth and love. Nam confronts Yi, furious upon learning that Kojun is still alive. Yi, however, calmly assures him that he has a new plan. He doesn't want Kojun dead yet. Instead, Yi reveals his plan to make Kojun lose the gambling challenge between Kojun and Kam Sing, and once the game is over, they'll kill him. Yi aligns himself with Kam Sing and Nam, presenting Kam Sing with a pair of special eyeglasses worth $10,000. These glasses, equipped with technology, allow the wearer to see invisible markings on the cards, giving Kam Sing an unbeatable edge. With this advantage, Yi believes Kojun won't stand a chance. The day of the challenge arrives. Kojun, Yi, Koji, and Dragon step onto Chan Kam Sing's luxurious cruise ship for the ultimate poker game. Meanwhile, Michael, deeply concerned for Kojun's safety, disguises himself as a waiter and sneaks aboard the ship. He finds Kojun and urgently warns him that Yi plans to kill him. Kojun smiles, playfully asking Yi if it's true. Yi denies it, and the two share a laugh at the absurdity of Michael's claims. Still, Kojun invites Michael to join him, assuring him they'll talk later, but warns him not to interfere with the poker game. The match begins, and Kam Sing, with his special glasses, wins the first 2 rounds. After losing all of Koji's money, Kojun risks everything. putting up his entire personal fortune against Kam Singh's wealth. Kam Singh hesitates, reluctant to gamble such a large sum, unsure if Ko Jun's wealth is as legitimate as it seems. But Ko Jun's convincing arguments and his own greed push Kam Singh to agree, confident that the glasses give him the upper hand. Having caught on to Kam Singh's tricks, Ko Jun covers one of his cards while Kam Singh is distracted. As the game unfolds, Kam Singh, using the glasses to see Ko Jun's cards, is sure that Ko Jun has a losing hand. He gloatingly celebrates his victory, only for Ko Jun to reveal his superior hand. Kam Singh, stunned, watches in disbelief as Ko Jun wins the game. Subsequently, Ko Jun drops a bombshell. The special glasses Kam Singh is wearing are outdated. He reveals that he wears the same device, but his is a German-made contact lens form that cost a staggering $110,000. Kam Singh, still reeling from his loss, glares at Yi, accusing him of betrayal. In a swift motion, Ko Jun hands Yi a gun, which Yi attempts to use on Kam Singh, only to discover that it is an unloaded toy gun. Kam Singh, oblivious to the trick, pulls out his own gun and shoots Yi dead. As the chaos unfolds, Dragon appears, gun drawn, pointing it at everyone in sight. Ko Jun, ever the strategist, had planned this entire sequence of events. His vengeance is not only for Koji, whom Kam Singh had wronged, but also for himself, avenging the death of Janet. A truth Ko Jun uncovered from the magnetic tape that hadn't fully burned that night. With Kam Singh in shock and the situation in control, Ko Jun calmly exits the ship as the police arrive to arrest Kam Singh. Koji is deeply grateful to Ko Jun. His expectations have been far exceeded. Ko Jun not only took down Kam Singh, but also ruined him financially and emotionally, turning him into a murderer. Koji attempts to offer Ko Jun a share of the winnings, but Ko Jun declines, asking only for a box of his favorite chocolate. Ko Jun also makes Dragon laugh for the first time. As he heads out, Michael calls after him and Ko Jun bids him goodbye, leaving Michael heartbroken and disappointed. Michael returns home, consumed by sadness and frustration. Just as he resigns himself to the situation, Ko Jun walks in, and Michael is pleasantly surprised he hadn't forgotten him after all. They share a laugh over the trick they had played on him. With a mischievous smile, Ko Jun reveals that he remembered Michael from the hospital and knew about Ko Yi's betrayal all along. He had feigned ignorance to properly execute his plan. Ko Jun promises Michael that he'll take him to Las Vegas as his gambling partner, to make up for the emotional roller coaster he put him through. Together, they would build a new chapter, leaving the past behind. If you made it this far, imagine this for a second. What if you could see through cards, switch them mid-game, and bend opponents to your will? How unstoppable would your gambling be? Would you crush every poker table, or would power change the way you play? If you enjoy high-stakes gambling, supernatural skills, and brilliant mind games, hit like to support the channel. Subscribe for more legendary gambling films, Hong Kong classics, and insane power breakdowns you won't find anywhere else. And if you want to see Stephen Chow take supernatural powers to the extreme, click here for the next recap. You don't want to miss this one.